During a Thanksgiving gathering, my sister stumbled upon the fact that I had amassed a significant fortune, and my family insisted I share it with her, arguing she was more deserving. Hello, everyone. Before diving into this tale, I need your support. Our platform has been losing momentum, and following us is a simple, cost-free way to help keep our content alive. Your encouragement means the world, so let's keep this community thriving together. Thank you. And now, let's get to the story. I'm using an alias to protect my identity, with some details altered for privacy. I'm Sarah, a woman in my late 30s, and I need to share this burden. Ever experienced a family where one child is the golden star while the other feels like a shadow? That's my life. Things were fairly normal until I was a young girl. As an only child, my parents weren't overly affectionate, but they were there. Mum helped with schoolwork, and Dad occasionally took me fishing at a nearby lake. We weren't picture perfect, but we managed. Then came a night that flipped everything upside down. I remember my Aunt Kelly arriving in the wee hours, urging me to pack a bag because Mum was in the hospital. My sister Rachel was arriving prematurely, and something was wrong. She wasn't due for weeks. The following days were a blur of hospital visits and whispered conversations. Rachel was tiny, like a fragile doll, hooked up to tubes and wires. I wasn't allowed near her, and that's when I first sensed it, a barrier forming between me and my family. When Rachel finally came home, our house became a sterile fortress. Mum was obsessed with cleanliness, think industrial-grade disinfectants, sanitizer stations in every room, and relentless scrubbing. The sharp smell of bleach still unsettles me, but what really hurt was how I was treated. The slightest sniffle or cough meant I was sent to Grandma Marie's or Aunt Kelly's, every single time. At first, I enjoyed it. Grandma baked cookies, and Aunt Kelly had an amazing mystery book collection, but kids aren't clueless. I soon realized I wasn't being sent on fun trips. I was being treated as a danger, as if my existence could harm my precious sister. I tried everything to earn my parents' attention in healthier ways. Straight A's. Mum barely glanced up from Rachel's medical appointments. First place in the science fair for a renewable energy project. Dad just asked me to store it in the garage, claiming Rachel was allergic to cardboard dust. Is that even real? The worst was when I was a preteen. I spent months practicing a piano piece for the school talent show. On the night of the performance, Rachel had a slight fever, and no one showed up to watch me. Yet 2 weeks later, the entire family, including grandparents, attended Rachel's brief flute recital where she butchered a simple tune. Rachel quickly learned to manipulate the situation. By early childhood, her health issues had mostly resolved, but she kept up the act. A headache meant skipping school. Feeling tired? Someone else, guess who, had to do her chores. Stressed about a test? Mom would call the school to push deadlines. I retreated to my room, diving into books on art history and antiques. My room became my haven, especially since Rachel claimed my air freshener triggered her allergies, keeping her out. When she faked illness, I was secretly relieved. It meant a trip to Grandma's, where someone actually cared about my day. Grandma sparked my love for vintage jewelry, letting me catalog her costume pieces. It felt like a sign of what was to come. The worst part wasn't just the favoritism, it was how my family rewrote history to justify it. Rachel needs more attention because of her rough start, they'd say. Sarah's so independent. Sarah understands her sister's special needs. I didn't understand. I was a kid, wondering why being healthy made me less lovable. Those years shaped me. The constant message that I was unsafe or inconvenient lingers, but it also made me self-reliant. When no one celebrates your wins, you learn to cheer for yourself. High school was my escape plan. While Rachel built her drama kingdom in middle school, I was plotting my way out. Nothing motivates like knowing you're on your own. Sorting Grandma's jewelry taught me organization and precision. I applied that to everything. Color-coded notes, meticulous study schedules, everything in its place. Rachel mocked me, calling me obsessive, but being invisible meant no one tracked my successes or failures. I joined every club that didn't clash with my part-time job at a local diner, where the owner, Carol, remembered my birthday when my parents forgot. Debate team? Done. Honor Society president? Done. School newspaper editor? Done. Debate gave me a voice. Dismantling arguments with calm precision was empowering and taught me negotiation skills I'd later use. I won state competitions, but my parents missed them for Rachel's low-level soccer games, where she barely played. The turning point came in my junior year. I aced the SAT perfectly. I stared at the results, certain it was a glitch. When I told my parents, Mom was helping Rachel with homework and barely acknowledged me, saying Rachel needed to focus for a test. Rachel snarked, "Some of us have to study, Miss Perfect." My perfect score never made the fridge, but Rachel's average grade got a prime spot with a proud of you magnet. For college, I applied to multiple schools in secret, handling essays, recommendations, and financial aid alone. My counselor, Mr. Chen, was a lifesaver when my parents were too busy to help. Acceptances rolled in from top schools, all with scholarships. I hid them under my bed, knowing Rachel would make it about her if she found out. When I got a full-ride offer from a prestigious university, Rachel's cheerleading announcement stole the spotlight. I ate microwave mac and cheese while they celebrated at a restaurant. But that scholarship was my ticket out. Tuition, housing, and books covered. I could finally leave a home where I was either unseen or a burden. At the library, in my favorite window seat, I cried tears of relief. When I told my parents about my college choice, they worried about Rachel needing me and warned they couldn't help financially because of her cheerleading costs. Rachel even asked for my room for her videos. That summer, I worked double shifts at the diner, saving every penny. Carol gave me extra tips and leftover pie, teaching me to spot genuine people in a world of fakes. On move-in day, my parents skipped it for Rachel's competition, but Aunt Kelly drove me, helped set up my dorm, and gave me an envelope of cash from Grandma, who'd saved it from her pension. That night, alone in my dorm, I vowed to build a life so remarkable that being ignored would be impossible, not for revenge, but for the little girl sent away for sneezing. College was a whirlwind of late nights, cheap noodles, and freedom. I graduated with top honors, unnoticed by my parents, who were busy with Rachel's college transfers. Then came a twist. I landed an entry-level job at a high-end auction house in a major city. Starting in estate sales, I catalogued belongings of the wealthy after their passing, unglamorous but steady. My big break came with an elderly widow's estate, filled with what others assumed was costume jewelry. My time with Grandma's collection paid off. One unassuming brooch caught my eye. Its weight and clasp suggested it wasn't fake. I spent my lunch breaks and evenings researching, tapping into the company's antique databases. Convinced it was valuable, I prepared a detailed case, learning gemology on the side. When I pitched it to my boss, Mr. Harrison, he was skeptical but listened. The brooch sold for a fortune at auction, part of a rare collection from decades past. That win earned Harrison's trust. He gave me more items to authenticate, and I dove into learning everything about vintage jewelry, courses, estate sales, and a notebook of techniques. My apartment became a shrine to jewelry research. The auction house saw results as I uncovered overlooked treasures, built collector contacts, and grew my commissions. My family, still uninterested. At Sunday dinners, Mom vaguely mentioned my antique shop job, while Rachel bragged about mall-bought trinkets. I didn't care. I'd found something I excelled at, separate from being Rachel's sister or the family letdown. Then came a massive estate from an old money family. Amid the buzz, I spotted an overlooked piece, researched it for days, and confirmed it was a rare item thought lost in history. Its auction sale was a game changer. Harrison suggested I start my own authentication business. I laughed it off. Me, with no capital? But the idea grew. I began freelance work, and collectors sought me out. One night, surrounded by manuals and tools, I realized I could do this. I took a leap, borrowing against my car, draining my savings, and renting a tiny office above a restaurant. It smelled of takeout, and the Wi-Fi was spotty, but it was mine. The first months were terrifying. Sleepless nights, loan stress, and second-hand furniture. But my auction house reputation helped. I started with local dealers, offering lower fees and meticulous work. Word spread. A major job came when a dealer asked me to authenticate a collection of heirloom brooches. I found rare pieces misidentified as replicas, earning a hefty commission. Suddenly, collectors and lawyers were calling. Even my old auction house sent work. By the second year, I hired a gemology grad, Jenny, and moved to a proper office. We became known for finding hidden gems, literally, and for discretion with wealthy clients. Keeping this from my family was tricky. They thought I worked at a quaint antique shop. Rachel mocked me at dinners, offering me her junk jewelry, while Mom called me the other daughter who does something with old jewelry. I'd been featured in a major publication under my company name and opened multiple offices, but I kept it secret, almost enjoying the irony. I'd wear high-end pieces to dinners disguised as simple and watch Rachel flaunt cheap accessories while I sported items worth more than her car. Managing growth was tough. Constant travel, hiring financial advisors, and maintaining a modest lifestyle despite the wealth. I splurged only on a secure home office with top-tier equipment. My family assumed I was frugal, even as I sent anonymous monthly payments to help with their struggles, like Rachel's loans and medical bills. Mum thought I was scraping by, while Rachel spent lavishly, likely with my money, on bags and trips. I stayed quiet, amused by the irony. Then came Rachel's plan for an expensive MBA. Mom begged for more help, dismissing state schools as beneath Rachel. I upped my contributions, but it stung to hear them praise Rachel's ambition while assuming I lived on scraps. I was even invited to lecture at Rachel's dream school about luxury goods, but I hid it, feeling like a secret superhero, running a thriving business by day, playing the humble daughter at Sunday dinners. The facade grew heavy. Rachel's jabs about my little job and my parents' suggestions to get a real career wore me down. I knew it would unravel dramatically, but I didn't expect it to explode at Thanksgiving. Mom was overwhelmed with back pain and couldn't cook, so I offered to cater. She worried about the cost, but I assured her I'd saved up. I hired a top-tier caterer I used for business events, delivering a feast that outshone Mom's usual dry turkey. Rachel scoffed at the store-bought food, but everyone loved it. During dessert, I stepped away to monitor an online auction for a client. I set up in my old bedroom, unchanged since high school, unlike Rachel's renovated space. Disaster struck when Rachel barged in to borrow my charger and saw my laptop, open to my authentication program with account details and deals. Smirking, she grabbed it, thinking she'd humiliate me. In the dining room, with relatives tipsy on fine wine they mistook for cheap, she flipped the screen to reveal my fortune, pending contracts and company profits. The room fell silent. Rachel, stunned, whispered, "This can't be right." Mum laughed, insisting I worked at a small shop. I stood, calmly revealing I owned a leading jewelry authentication firm with offices in multiple cities. Dad choked. Aunt Kelly dropped her fork, and Mum's laughter turned to fury. She screamed that I'd let them struggle while sitting on wealth, ignoring my years of financial health. Instead of pride, they were outraged, fixated on Rachel's needs.